Today, your name was defended in rooms you never entered. Yes, your name was defended, and you never even saw the room. And you're here because something in your spirit knew there was more happening than what your eyes could see. You felt the silence. You felt music, the distance. You felt the unanswered questions, and you wondered if it meant rejection. But listen, music closely. I am the one who sees every conversation, every whisper, every decision made behind closed doors, and I am about to show you what was truly happening while you thought you were forgotten. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you will understand why the silence was necessary, why the delay was strategic, and why your absence from certain music spaces was never a loss, but a layer of protection. You interpreted quietness as abandonment. When the call stopped coming, when the opportunity music stalled, when people grew distant, you assumed the worst. You told yourself that if your name was not being mentioned, it must have been. Music erased. But I was present in every room you were not invited into. I heard every sentence spoken about you. I watched every expression on their faces. I saw the hesitation, music, the doubt, the debates. And while you were at home, replaying scenarios in your mind, I was actively shaping outcomes in places you could not access. The silence music you experienced was not inactivity, it was insulation. I was shielding you from words, music that would have discouraged you prematurely, and from atmospheres that were not aligned with your future. You must understand something about how I work. I do not always move loudly. I do not always announce my strategy. Sometimes my greatest interventions are invisible. While you were asking, why am I not there? I was asking, why would I place you there before it is time? You were not absent because you were unworthy. You were absent because I was arranging alignment. If you had music been present in those conversations, you might have reacted emotionally. You might music have tried to defend yourself. You might have pushed doors open that I was intentionally music keeping closed. So I kept you still. I let you remain unaware. Not to exclude you, but to music preserve you. There were discussions where your character was tested without you knowing. There were moments when someone questioned your ability. There were crossroads where your future hung in the balance. And while you were unaware, I was music attentive. I softened hearts. I redirected narratives. I allowed certain opinions to fade before they could solidify into decisions. What you call being left out was often me, filtering the environment. Before you ever stepped inside it, I will not send you into a room unprepared, and I will not allow you to be exposed to something that could wound you unnecessarily.
So when you look back at that season of silence, I do not want you to see emptiness. I want you to see evidence of my unseen labor. I was not distant. I was deliberate. I was not ignoring you. I was investing in outcomes you could not yet perceive. And this is only the beginning of what I am about to reveal to you about how I defended your name when you were not, even in the room, and when they questioned you, when your name was placed on the table without your presence, when opinions began to circle the room, and your character was weighed without your voice. I was already there before the first word left their lips. You did not hear the tone of the conversation shift, but I did. You did not see the raised eyebrows or the doubtful glances, but I saw them all. There were moments when someone misunderstood your silence as weakness. There were instances when your past was brought up as if it defined your future. There were subtle accusations wrapped in polite language, concerns disguised as caution, and you were not there to defend yourself. But you did not need to be, because I stood as your advocate. I know your motives. I know the tears you cried in private. I know the discipline you practiced when no one applauded you. I know the growth that happened in hidden seasons. So when they spoke from limited understanding, I responded from complete knowledge. You must realize that your reputation is not sustained by your constant defense. It is sustained by my sovereignty. If you had been in that room, you might have reacted from emotion. You might have over-explained, overshared, or tried to force agreement. But I restrained you because your peace was more valuable than proving a point. Instead, I placed someone in that room who remembered your integrity. I stirred the memory of a favor you once did. I allowed a past success to resurface in their minds at the right moment. I softened the one who was skeptical and strengthened the one who quietly supported you. You call it coincidence when someone I expected speaks well of you. I call it orchestration. I know how to assign voices to protect what I am building through you. There were accusations that could have grown if I had allowed them to. There
were doubts that could have hardened into decisions, but I interrupted the narrative. I redirected the energy. I ensured music that what was said about you did not override what I have already spoken over you. Your calling does not hang on the fragile thread of human music opinion. It rests in my declaration. And when I declare something over your life, no room, no meeting, no committee has the authority to cancel music it. You were not defenseless. You were covered. You were not overlooked. You were shielded from unnecessary confrontation. And while you were wondering whether your name was being honored, I was making sure it was handled with care. You do not always see me defend you, but you will always benefit from my defense, and even more music than defending your name. I blocked what would have quietly harmed your future. There were music opportunities discussed that looked appealing on the surface, but carried hidden compromises beneath music them. There were invitations that seemed like advancement, but would have entangled you in environments that slowly drained your purpose. You mourned what you thought was a mischance. You replayed music, the what-if scenarios in your mind. You imagined how different things could have been if only that door had opened. But you, music, were seeing with limited vision. I was seeing the entire landscape. I saw the music stress that would have settled into your spirit. I saw the alliances that would have pressured you to shrink who you are. Music, I saw the subtle erosion of your values that would have happened over time. And because I love you, I intervened quietly. You call it music rejection. I call it redirection. You call it delay. I call it design. There were rooms where your name was considered and I allowed it to be removed, not because you were unworthy, but because the timing was wrong or the environment was misaligned. I am not only concerned with elevating you, I am concerned with preserving you. Advancement without alignment becomes a burden. Success without stability becomes stress. I would rather close a door that excites your ego than open one that damages your destiny. So, when you felt the sting of being left out, understand that it was often my mercy at work. There are outcomes you will never fully know about, conflicts you avoided, betrayals you escaped, pressures you were spared. I filtered conversations so that your future would not be built on unstable foundations. I removed your name from agreements that would have cost you more than they promised to give. What you perceived as loss was often protection, wearing unfamiliar clothing. I am shaping a path for you that is sustainable, not just impressive. I am guiding you toward rooms that will honor your growth, not exploit your potential. So when something falls through and you feel confused, pause before you grieve it. Sometimes the greatest evidence that your name was defended in rooms you never entered is that you never had to recover from what could have happened there. And while you were grieving doors that did not open, I was already building favor in rooms you have not yet entered. You assumed that because you were not present, nothing was progressing. But I was laying groundwork long before your arrival. I was placing your name in conversations in ways that stirred curiosity rather than criticism. I was allowing your consistency, your quiet integrity, your unseen discipline to echo further than you realized. You did not need to campaign for yourself because I was preparing hearts ahead of time. Influence does not begin the moment you walk into a room. It begins when I speak about you before you ever step inside it. There were individuals who felt an unexplainable respect for you before meeting you. There were decision makers who sensed alignment without understanding why. That was not luck. That was preparation. You often think elevation happens suddenly, but what looks sudden to you is usually the result of my slow and intentional work. I plant seeds in unseen soil. I allow trust to form gradually. Primera, orchestrate, connections that feel natural but are deeply strategic. While you were questioning your worth in private, I was reminding others of your value in public. While you doubted your readiness, I was affirming your reliability in spaces you could not access. This is how I move. I prepare environments so that when you arrive, you do not have to fight for recognition. You walk into favor that has already been established. Understand this clearly. I am not merely defending your name to keep you safe. I am defending it to position you for advancement. Reputation is not about ego. It is about alignment. When I protect your name, I am protecting the assignment attached to it. The room you will eventually enter must be ready for you as much as you are ready for it. Toy-shaped perception. I allow your past faithfulness to speak. I amplify quiet testimonies. I ensure that when your moment comes, you step into a space that feels prepared rather than hostile. The groundwork music of favor is rarely visible, but it is deeply intentional. You may not see the preparation, but you will feel it when you arrive. The atmosphere will not feel resistant. It will feel receptive. The tension you feared will be replaced with unexpected openness. It's because I was already there, smoothing the terrain. I was building a bridge long before you reached the river. And when you finally walk into that new opportunity, you will realize that your waiting season was not empty. It was the time I used to align people, conversations, and circumstances so that your entrance would be confirmation, not chaos. And sooner than you think, you will step into a room that confirms everything I have been quietly arranging. You will sense a shift, not because the environment is perfect, but because it is prepared. The uncertainty that once unsettled you will give way to clarity. The fear that whispered you were forgotten will be replaced with evidence that you were always covered. When you walk into that space, you will notice something different. You will not feel the need to defend yourself. You will not feel the urge to prove your worth. You will recognize that the tone of the room already carries respect. That is not accidental. That is the fruit of my unseen defense and preparation. I want you to understand that what is coming will not require you to strive anxiously. It will feel aligned. It will feel earned through growth, not forced through desperation. The conversations will reflect honor. The opportunities will match your maturity. And in that moment, you will begin to piece together the seasons that once confused you. You will see that the silence, the delay, the exclusion were not signs of neglect, but steps of refinement. I was shaping you internally while shaping circumstances externally. I was building your capacity while building your credibility. Do not rush this process. The room that is meant for you cannot be stolen by another, and it cannot be prematurely occupied by you. Timing matters because alignment matters. If I had allowed you into certain spaces too early, you might have carried insecurity instead of confidence. You might have entered with wounds that would have distorted your perception. So I healed you in private. Will be done. I strengthen you in obscurity. I deepened your discernment away from public pressure. Now, when you enter what is next, you will not be fragile. You will be steady. And when you stand there in that new season, you will remember the nights you questioned whether your name was being handled with care. You will remember the moments you feared being forgotten. And you will realize that while you were doubting, I was defending. While you were worrying, I was working. The room you are about to enter is not just a new opportunity. It is confirmation that your name was defended in rooms you never entered, and that every unseen conversation was ultimately serving the purpose I am unfolding in your life. Amen.